Hi, this is Jesse from A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Podcast. Before we start this episode, I want to remind you that you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, the Google Play Store, podcast.com, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Enjoy.
Welcome to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Podcast.
I'm Jesse.
And I'm Eric.
And this is Barry, the owner of Cheers. Nailed it. There we go. Hi.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for coming and sharing some not A&W root beer with us.
Pure A&W root beer. It's beyond root beer.
It's beyond. They took the vanilla out and most of the sugar, but it's still really good.
It's good. I'm glad. I'll stick to my rum, my dark A&W root beer.
So, this is the part of the show where Jesse says he has a long-running tradition of letting the guest introduce themselves to give the audience a brief idea of who they are and what they do.
Yes, I do normally say that, but Eric covered that for me this time. So.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see.
So, Barry, who are you and what do you do?
Well, that's an involved question sometimes, isn't it?
We like to spring a hard one on the guest right at the beginning.
Who am I and what do I do? Well, bought Cheers Restaurant in 95, my dad and I.
Exciting.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
Exciting.
Oh, yeah. That was actually our third business. If you want to go back, into when we lived in Brampton, we had a donut shop for 5 years and then sold that and bought a fish and chip store. Did that for 5 or 6 years.
Good precursor to Cheers. Great
Exactly.
fish and chips.
Yeah. Well, we walked into Cheers when we were looking to buy something in the area, and you get that homey feel. And had a big Italian menu, had tablecloths and linen upstairs and kind of a rougher bar downstairs. And we looked at the menu. I said, gee, we should just cook fish and chips here. Get some more fryers in, cook some fish. And it actually took a long time to get people to realize that the fish was good because they weren't accustomed to thinking that Cheers would be a good place to go for fish. So it's a lot of slow growth and marketing.
Did it have a strong brand identity in the community before you took it over?
I believe that it had some brand identity, definitely with Atlas Steel. It was an Atlas Steel bar because Atlas Steel was right across the street. They did a lot of lunches and dinners for them. A lot of the Atlas Steel workers would come in after work. We branched out from there to Gencor, Union Carbide, John Deere. Of course, they're one by one, they're all gone.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then Canadian Tire Acceptance started picking up. Staples Crew was coming in. But now we don't have, the difference between then and now is we don't have the groups of, say, 20 or 30 that all show up off shift at the same time. So now you're going to get 4 or 5 guys that work together showing up, couples showing up, it's different, but people, because I think longevity, they're familiar with it. It's, you know what to expect with atmosphere, service, food. It's just a comfortable fit.
And I have to get it out of the way. Owning any type of bar named Cheers, has to have, there's a little bit of weight that comes with a bar named that.
Yeah, well, it was called Cheers when we bought it. And we had said, can't think of a better name.
Yeah.
It is a really good name.
Why change the name? That it seemed to be a good name. We've tried to change people's perception of Cheers Bar as to Cheers Pub. And the funny thing is, true story is, my dad and I we'd sit together every day at 4 o'clock and have a coffee, talk about what works, what doesn't work. We did this, for years. I'm working nights, he's working days. We're the 2 cooks of the place. What works, what doesn't work? What are we? What is people's perception of us? And couldn't answer the question. What are we? And then we went on a Reader's Choice Award in 2002, says Best English Pub. And we said, oh.
Somebody found out for you.
We're a pub. So then let's just keep going with being a pub.
It took a little bit of time, but you
Yeah.
got your answer in an unexpected way, I assume. So
Yeah. Well, see, what we decided in the beginning was that the food should be the draw, because if you're selling beer, then you can buy that beer anywhere. So you're competing strictly on price and strictly on what kind of surroundings you're going to have with that beer. But if food is your draw, then you're still going to sell that beer. But hopefully, you bring them in for the food, and then you get the beer as well.
the multiple beers.
Sure. Depends on the night. Later at night, the more the beers.
Yeah.
The pub atmosphere does make a lot of sense. I mean, every time I go in there, it's always for the fish and chips. I don't think I've actually had anything else from the menu just because the fish and chips are so good, and I'm a bit of a fish kind of guy. But yeah, no, I just, for some reason, every time I go in there, I'll also just order a beer. And I'm not usually the kind of person that will, in the middle of the day, get a beer in a restaurant.
Right.
But for some reason at Cheers, that's what I do.
Got that homey,
Usually-
feel like a beer feel.
Usually a Guinness for some reason. Which
Oh, yeah?
I like Guinness, but I have it no more than a dozen times a year. So.
We've been selling a lot of Guinness lately, and I'm not sure why, because it's more of a winter beer. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's a heavier...
It's a stout, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that always bothered me because I did try to buy a lot of stouts last 2 summers ago, and all the LCBOs would say, "Oh, well, we don't get that in until the fall time." Like, darn it!
Yep.
But it's my kind of beer.
I guess having been in business for as long as you have, you can definitely keep track of trends. So the fact that you're selling a lot of Guinness right now,
Yeah. Well, that's the
It's
effect of being
interesting.
hands-on, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm there. I'm there. I'm present in the building 5 days a week now, which is quite nice. I'm only cooking 4 days a week. But that's down from, the early days. You're working 60 to 80 hours a week.
yeah.
We'd rotate Sundays. You work like a dog. And, if someone says to me, I want to own my own restaurant, because that's the glory job, right? Other than, hosting podcasts. It's right up there, though.
if this could be a job, it'd be great, but it's not. It's we haven't found a way to monetize it exactly yet.
Yeah.
But
Could sell out. Do that.
we could.
So there's no commercials brought to you
Nope.
by
There aren't.
A&W.
No, not yet. But we should say that we do post videos on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
There you go.
Thank you.
Self-promotion's our promotion game.
Yes.
And we're all in that game,
Yeah.
Originally,
This was supposed to be kind of a divvied thing outside of the photo and video business that was run, but it exists kind of side by side, and we can promote what we're doing, like we're doing sorry, you were going to say something? No. Well, like we're doing a charity volleyball tournament this weekend, and we had the
Serves for nerves.
Yes, we had the kind of showrunners for the charity volleyball tournament on this podcast. So we were able to do the photo and video for the charity podcast for the charity beach volleyball tournament, and then we were able to also promote them here. So it works.
We've talked a
kinda
lot
hand in hand.
to people about how essentially reciprocity is a really good recipe as far as the business world goes, where you're working with people and you might not necessarily be, seeing money exchange hands, but there's so many things you can do as far as charitable work or just work with other business owners. Do you find you still work with many other businesses to perhaps get a name out there or participate in something?
yes and no. I mean, if you're referring to off-site charitable work, we did trying, it's obviously the earlier years is when you're really pushing to get your name out there.
Yes.
So we'd done Club Richelieu fish fry for law enforcement torch run. We did that for a number of years, took a lot of product that we got donated to us and did cooked for Special Olympians for the day. Now the charitable works is a lot less. It's more in terms of, say, donating gift cards for fundraisers. And so it's not the same as
But
me
still
going out and
charity,
actually...
by all means.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's
I mean,
just
they
different
knock on our door and, we'll donate to every charity, but of course some charities, small percentage, want money. They want you to buy an ad, they want a sponsor, they want this, they want that, and the response is just, well, we just give gift cards. If you want to do a raffle, you raffle it off. You do, however you want to raise money from that gift card is fine with us.
That makes sense. We kind of do the same thing with to promote ourselves for wedding work. We'll give away special packages to Stag and Does as prizes or whatever if people want to get sponsored by us.
And I can't tell. This is a weird truth. We have donated dozens of engagement shoots to Stag and Does, and I've talked to the brides and grooms for the Stag and Does afterwards, and they're like, yeah, in some cases it's one of the highest bidded on items.
I would think
people
so, yeah.
like photos.
Sure.
Nobody has ever come back.
No.
So I'm giving out all these cards. Brides have made money, and then we don't have to do any work. It's definitely not helping brand recognition because we're not getting the work.
No.
But we are creating some revenue for people somewhere. So there's benefits there.
But your question to go back to in terms of reciprocating with people, I think what I'm doing now in the sense is I've got a lot of tradespeople that come to the restaurant. They're finished work at 3, 4 in the afternoon, and they're in having a pint or a pound of wings or something like that. And those are the people that if I need something done either at the restaurant or on a personal level, I'll go to them first. So you're a drywaller that comes into the restaurant every day. I need some drywall. I've got a house that's got all paneling. I want to drywall it. I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to hire you and then give you money, which you then come back the next day and spend, or we're going to work something out.
In a way that the government doesn't see the tax revenue, which is a funny thing. It's totally legal and totally fair to do. There's a lot of comedians that sort of push the idea that we should trade services as opposed to trading money for things. But
it's not a bad idea.
But straying away from that, that's an interesting concept. I was just joking to Jesse before this show that I would love to frame somebody a shed or take photos or something for a lawnmower right now because I really need a lawnmower.
Yeah.
But it's this thing where, you could definitely have outreach. They already consume your product.
I'm not going to look outside of the contractors that are already customers. I will hit everyone up if I can, saying I need a roof. Are you interested? I need flooring. Are you interested? I need a deck. Are you interested?
And you can appraise their character right there in the pub. It's an interesting opportunity. I've never thought of that for restaurants. We've sort of been looking into the acquisition of businesses ourselves over the past year. I don't know, sort of at a slow rate, but looked at a lot of restaurants and bars and thought, what if? But didn't see that angle.
No.
Get to meet a lot of people.
What, if you owned a restaurant?
Yeah. It'd be a very social thing. He's worked a little bit more in the customer service industry than I have. For me, it's always been trades jobs or
Well, I'm
labor
reaching the end of
jobs.
my career. So, let me know.
Great.
I'm serious.
Jesse, let's come up with the money.
Okay.
I said the end, not today.
Well, yeah.
I'm giving you, a window here.
Well, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
No, I didn't. In all seriousness, I did not raise my children into the business because I did not want it to be a generational business. It was my dad and I since 1984. I was 17 years old.
It's got to be a great experience to work with your father. That
We worked together for 30 years, right? So it has its good and bad. I mean, we complemented each other. I would be quite fine to go into the kitchen, compliment with an E, I think. I'd be quite fine to go into the kitchen and take on that role and look after that aspect of it, whether it was making the donuts back when they used to do that, slicing the fish, doing the cooking. He would be the guy taking the product and chopping it into pieces and going around to the tables. Try the fish. You've got to try the fish. It's really good fish, Don't eat the wings. Try the fish. Try the fish. He would go around with the homemade bread. He would be Mr. Sociable. I'm not that guy. I can't be that guy. It's too much work. I would much rather be by myself in a kitchen preparing the product and cooking the product and plating the product and sending it out, and then letting either the waitresses or him, wander around and greet people and chat with people and.
That's good.
That's where
we
mesh that way, for sure.
I have kind of limited food management. Like I used to manage A&W when I was in college for a little bit, and that dealing once you get away from the making the burgers and stuff like that, you're
Oh,
the
yeah.
front line to deal with people. You learn real quick, and I did really enjoy it. So,
Well, everyone's got to know their strengths, right?
yeah, I am a sociable person in
Yep.
certain scenarios. I can't talk to a woman in a bar to save my life, but in almost every other scenario, I can.
Well,
hold
it's
a
easy when you own it.
But yeah, hey, that would be true.
I own the place.
Yes. And then what you hear is, "Oh, are you hiring?"
Yeah.
First thing I learned at 17, when you're hiring girls based on looks, it doesn't work out.
No.
That's fair.
My dad let my brother and I do the hiring for the donut shop before we opened. I was 16, turning 17, so my brother would have been 15. We did the interviews, we did the hiring.
Bet you it looked very good.
We
in there,
had a ball. It's like playing Santa Claus.
which I've done.
Yeah, but it didn't work out.
No.
Oddly enough, in the trades, you can get away a little bit by hiring people based on how they look, kind of. It's not beautiful women, it's just really jacked guys. But works out better than people that are really scrawny anyways, when you're trying to build a house.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's interesting. I suppose. I mean, some restaurants definitely do have to hire based on a specific look. Obviously, talking about specific chicken wing chains and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We've run the range. We've had everyone from an 18-year-old waitress who is just legal to serve alcohol to a mid-50s waitress who's been with Cheers since we bought the place. So she's made the joke that we're retiring together. I can't sell the place with her. She doesn't want another new owner.
it's true. That'd be
Yeah.
change.
There's always a shake-up when there's a change in
Yeah.
ownership and management.
I've usually been the incoming shake-up, not the outgoing shake-up. So.
Did you find that it was a hard transition outside of the trying to teach people that they should come to you for fish? Was it a smooth transition in general? Were there issues? You were coming from Brampton to
Yeah, so
Welland?
Brampton, Well, see, we are historically from the area. I was born in Welland Hospital, lived in Fawn Hill till I was 9. And then my dad got transferred to Toronto, so we bought a house in Brampton. And he was in the credit union business at the time.
Okay.
And so we always had family down here. Grandparents in Waynfleet, Port Colborne, Lakeshore Road area. It's always family down here. But the hard part was definitely the population base. So you've gone from, Brampton doesn't take long. If you open the doors and you got a decent product,
Yeah.
it doesn't take long. To coming down to a population of 50,000, it took longer. Yeah, especially when you bought I don't know if it was because it was an existing business and we were trying to take it in this direction, and there was some resistance. I mean, it was a bit more of strictly a bar crowd at the time, less dining, and we were trying to. You can't get rid of all the bar crowd at once, like
No.
that kind of bar crowd, like an Encore. Sorry, I mean.
There still is a bit of a wild bar crowd, especially. I went there on St. Patrick's Day, and it was a wild night.
That's probably because I wasn't there.
It's Welland too. I mean, it's where it is.
Oh, yeah.
That has some impact on the customers that you get. I have a property on Dorothy Street right behind Cheers.
Yep.
So yeah, I saw all the time people that would come and go, and of course I'd be one of them some nights. But
Yep.
a lot of different people.
I've got some good compliments over the years, inadvertently. One was that someone was surprised that the place was as nice as it is, considering the location.
Yeah.
And the other compliment was from a lady that said, "This is the only place in town that I feel comfortable walking in by myself."
That's a great
That's a
compliment.
huge compliment.
Another one was I went to my car at closing time, 3 a.m., and there was a cop car sitting beside my car. And I went out, and he said, "Is that your place?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Doing a good job. Thanks for not using
Great
us as your
compliments.
bouncers."
Yeah, they spend a lot of time at the apartments right beside, so
Yeah.
they'd be nearby anyways.
Yeah, so those are nice things to hear.
Of course, especially the feelings to the only business she can feel safe walking into.
Well, it's what you want to create. That's
Yeah.
that's what you want, right? I mean, my kids were small when we bought. Well, actually, they weren't even born when we bought the place. But the concept is, you want a place that your wife and children, small children, can come in for supper, not late night, but for supper, and be comfortable. My parents would want to come in, my aunts and uncles. I mean, you want a place to be proud of, right? You know, it's not just a money cranking machine. It's something that you want when people hear the name, you know, that they have good thoughts of it. You know, oh, Cheers. Oh, yeah, it's a good place. First two things people say to me is, oh, I heard it's got good fish, and who does the outside sign?
Yep.
And that's kind of how we...
So they're not even customers, right? They're just, you know, they read the sign and they heard it's good fish.
That's about how it began for us becoming
Your
aware of
Welland
it.
Memes sign
Yeah,
was...
I was driving to work one morning, pulled out of my driveway, turned right, saw that sign and almost lost it. I'm like, that's awesome.
Do you recall the sign?
Yeah.
Which one was it?
The Welland Meme sign.
Oh, really?
Welland
That
Meme
was...
says we have great fish and
Okay.
chips.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Really? That's the first sign?
Yeah.
Well, I used to live in Welland. I have traveled. I used to do a lot of baby photography all over the region, so I was all over. So I always noticed the signs, but that was the first one, especially since it traveled quickly online, because at that point we had...
And you know, I set him up for that sign too, because I had messaged him through private messenger, said, hey, have you ever been to Cheers? And he said, yeah, good fish, decent wings. so that's all I needed. I said, yeah, Welland Meme says good fish, decent wings. And someone else said, well, that doesn't sound very flattering. I said, that's what he said. And everyone's talking about Welland Memes,
Yeah.
so
That's true. It was...
it's like it's the Beyond Burger all over again. Whatever's the flavor. I mean, when you got your finger on the pulse of what's going on, then you try to ride the wave. And if, you know, a year from now, Beyond Burger's been beaten out by Impossible, which is coming out, or
there's a few smaller ones coming out too. I think is it Harvey's or Wendy's was bringing out one that I hadn't heard of.
well, Harvey's is Beyond. I think, isn't it Burger King that's doing Impossible? And I think
Yeah, but there was a smaller... I can't remember who it was, though. I can't remember. But somebody is coming out with another plant-based that I've never heard the company, because for me, it's Beyond and Impossible, the two big ones that I know. But, I mean, there obviously has to be smaller ones out there.
It's interesting that they create such a buzz because they've been available in like other brands. Plant-based burgers have been available in grocery stores forever. They suck. They're absolutely terrible. So I guess everybody's really excited that there might be a couple out there that are half decent. I do like the Beyond
Burger.
I like it.
I've tried it.
Good.
It's good.
I tried it. It was good. Yeah.
You can still tell it's not beef. Although, I will say, the Beyond sausage, which
I've tried
A&W
that.
had,
Yeah.
I don't know if I got an old one, but when I was eating the burger, I'm like, yeah, if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't know that it wasn't beef. But the sausage I got was spongy and dry. Like, it's seasoned. It tastes like sausage, but it's not a good
Well,
replication
if you've
of
seen,
sausage.
I don't know if you saw the outside sign now. It says if you're vegan curious, then
I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was trying to make a play on being curious.
Yeah.
And
I think it's funny, especially
and really,
Pride Month.
I've got a vegan that works at Cheers, and she won't eat the Beyond Burger strictly because it tastes too much like beef.
It really
So
depends.
that's why I said it's kind of for the curious. You know, that if you want to eat, I don't even want to say healthy because beef is healthy.
It's
You know, it's
an interesting thing what they're doing, because when A&W came out with the Beyond, everybody had said it's a good replacement, but once again, the caloric difference isn't there. You're saving a little bit, but it's very high in sodium. So less in fat, less in calorie, but just very high in sodium. So it's nice that we're coming up with better ideas of how to still enjoy the foods we want to enjoy, even though it's still not healthier.
No.
But it's
If
a
you're
little bit
trying
more
to-
sustainable.
So long as you're trying to make something that tastes like meat, you have to make many of the same sacrifices that meat has inherently. I guess the other argument you could make for it is, it's more environmentally friendly because you're not raising cows and taking up space and that kind of thing. But Yeah, there's still lots of shortfalls.
I wonder, though, about the environmental impact, though, because if you're stripping forests for farmland, that's just as bad, too, isn't it?
The main argument that a lot of people will make for the plant side of it is that the amount of people you could feed, given every square foot of land or whatever, is higher if it's producing vegetables and fruit than if if it was, beef. The amount of water that an animal is going to consume is very high. There's lots of different weighing factors, and people argue about them all day long. But I don't think those are necessarily the arguments that are going to sway people's eating habits just yet. People still eat what they want to eat for the most part.
Well, I try to be environmentally conscious in certain ways. Like, say, with the halibut that I carry, I try to buy the 60-pound fish.
As opposed to
the 10-pound fish.
Right. Okay.
I mean, they sell that, but on conscious level, I can't buy that, because to me, if you take the small fish, you have no big fish. You know what I mean? Like,
because there's more people are buying the smaller fish.
No, the idea is if you're buying small fish, they never grow to be big, right? Is that
right? It's like taking a full-grown, full-size fish as opposed to baby fish.
That makes sense.
And on the same side of things, if you're buying 10-pound fish, but you need 60 pounds, you're buying 6 fish.
Yes.
If you count the life side
that's
of
the
things,
ethical argument.
You're killing 6 fish versus 1.
Yep, that's the ethical
Well,
side.
the halibut's quite sustainable. They've got a limited catch, and it's pretty well regulated.
Where does the perch come from?
I get that from, it's from Lake Erie, but I get it from Miners Fisheries in Port Colborne. They've got the lock on that. They've got the trawlers that go out there, and that's their product. They're catching it.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never caught perch anywhere else other than like Simcoe for the most part, because that's where I did most of my fishing.
No, all the restaurants all along Lake Erie. It's all it's all Miners Fisheries. Port Dalhousie, or not Port Dalhousie. You got Port Colborne, of course, and all the way along the lakeshore to where's that motorcycle rally? Port Dover. Yeah.
Well, that's more where I'm. Like, I grew up Tillsonburg area, so I spent a lot of summers Port Dover, Port Rowan.
Yeah.
Long Point is where my parents' cottage was. So every other year I tend to get a fishing license and fish once or twice for perch or bass or whatever with my father. But that's where I catch my perch if I do. Lake Erie. But
Is there, now that I think of Lake Erie, I'm thinking of like Shores and all sorts of other places along and all the trailer parks and such. Is there a big seasonal difference in the business? Are there more people at one time of year than the other?
Fortunately, no.
No.
But you're not in a tourist town.
That's specifically why we chose Welland as opposed to Port Colborne.
It's less seasonal, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have a bit of highs and a bit of lows, but the dips and valleys are much friendlier than, say, May to October. You're making this, and then the rest of the year you're making this, and you're hoping for good weather.
Which would be horrible in a place like the Falls, even. Like, we were looking at this new place in the Falls that opened in October, and it was in the touristy area. I'm like, that's a really soft opening if you decide you're going to open when all the tourists disappear.
They were selling the restaurant 6 months later, so...
Yeah.
But there was no book and no proof of anything because
there probably wasn't much to show.
You didn't have anything.
No.
That's good that it's not as like ebb and flow.
Yeah.
You can keep a similar constant.
Plus Welland's still the region of more hospitable weather, I find, than compared to like Fort Erie or Colborne. I can't say that today. Yeah.
Port.
So anyways, less snow, less people getting snowed in and not wanting to travel, I'd imagine.
Well, you've also got an older demographic in Port Colborne, so they're not as likely to go out as often.
That's fair. I know the DQ there gets a lot of business.
Older people like fish and chips.
Probably
so.
Oh, yeah.
You could still get it.
Oh, yeah. They're just not going to drive to Welland in the bad weather.
No.
So.
That's true.
I tell you, there's nothing that kills a day faster than a bad weather forecast.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it actually happens or not.
Planning ahead.
That's like my job. This morning, my boss called me. Hey, it's raining. We're not going to sheet the roof today. Stay home. Great. They should put a retirement home right in the big empty industrial lot next door, and then you'd have lots of More new customers. What are they doing with that lot these days? Because every time my parents come by, they're like, hey, there's a gigantic industrial lot beside your house. I'm like, yes, I was aware.
You're talking about the Atlas Steel?
Yes.
They're putting in a firefighter training center.
Is that what it is?
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I've privately hoped for apartment buildings or,
That would
townhouses.
That would also be cool. Firefighter training, though.
But as long as they're using up brownfields, I mean, that's bonus, right?
Instead of looking for new area to cultivate. I mean, it's so close to the downtown and lots of other things. I'd hope that space gets used first for sure. Welland's a really huge... Was it? I don't know. I don't know where the city lines are exactly, but it seems to have a lot of space that it could develop into eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But they are developing on new land because I was driving. My girlfriend lives on Southworth, so I drive kind of the back way some.
I think I'm going to make a sacrifice to audio.
Pardon?
I'm going to make a sacrifice to the audio.
Oh, because it's getting hot in here? It is. I just put in the AC today. I try to hold out as long as I can, but
I haven't turned mine on at home yet. My wife wasn't happy today, and I said, well, it's almost the end of the day.
I know.
That is pretty loud.
You could turn it on low.
Oh, that's a better idea.
Jeez. But they are developing houses on land that I assume wasn't developed before, and there's, what do they call it? They're calling it like waterfront condos that are coming up too, like tall condos. So I don't know. It's good, I suppose, because it helps the property value on everything, and it'll drive more people to Welland. But
well, I guess if I'm to answer that other question that we started on, in terms
we tend to ramble.
Yeah. No, and I keep a couple nuggets in my head. One was about the Cheers name, and the other one was about the outside sign. Which one do you want first?
Well, you pick. Cheers name, outside sign.
I want to hear the outside sign.
All right. Well, how did that start? It started with working by yourself in the kitchen. It's slow. You're bored. You can only do so much prep.
Yeah.
Something pops in my head, and I laugh because that's how you entertain yourself.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, you know what? If I put that on the outside sign, maybe somebody else will laugh. And somebody did. So it's kind of just went from there.
Keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Well, I like that concept. Sometimes, there was a time like last year, and now I get to tell it to you, which is amazing because I think it was one of the first times we mentioned Cheers. Seeing the name of the restaurant all the time, me and him were going to do like a comedy stand-up thing, and I thought a good bit would be if I could create sort of a fake commercial or a fake... He's laughing because he knows where this is going. When I saw the name Cheers, I thought I could make a really funny skit. It'd be like an advertisement where you could be advertising Cheers, and you could advertise that they offer their beer pre-cheersed. So in other words, if you're lonely, you don't got to worry about coming there with your buddies and clinking glasses.
It's pre-cheered.
It's pre-cheersed.
I like it.
Drink up.
I like it. And if I could figure out how to do that on a sign, I would.
Hey, I was thinking about writing it into a joke, and I never did, so it's open material.
Let's shoot a semi-cheeky commercial for Cheers. Where like, Cheers in Welland. All the beers come pre-cheers.
Well, since you're fairly new to the signs, way back before social media, I've had a number of them that made the newspapers.
Really?
The very first one that made the newspaper was during a teacher's strike, and I don't remember when that was, but that must have been 20-something years ago. Maybe it was during Mike Harris. So what was that? 97, something like that.
Okay.
And I said, drop into Cheers if you have no class. My customers were offended.
Oh, really?
They didn't get the joke.
No.
That's funny, though.
So that made the paper. The one that I recall that made the Globe and Mail, so it went nationwide,
That's good.
was there was a very brief moment in time, I don't even remember how long ago this was, the Canadian dollar was worth like $1.01 US, so it was worth slightly more
A little bit more.
for a very, very short period of time. So I put on the sign that we accept American money at par. But, after all those restaurants down there, accepting our fake money at par.
That's funny.
So, anyway.
That's good. I wonder if you ever, outside of the teacher strike thing, caught any negative flack for the signs? Because especially now, we live in a little bit more of a PC type
Yeah,
world.
I know, and that makes it hard. It's got to be rough being a comedian in a PC environment. No, I don't think I've taken any slack for the sign. I got some slack for a cocktail menu because one of them was called Broken Down Welland Scooter.
Oh. What was the drink? What did it have in it?
I don't remember. It was my waitress that designed the cocktail menu.
Broken Down Scooter.
That's a good
And I thought it was
name.
funny.
Yeah.
And this woman took offense. She messaged me privately and took offense. And I said, it's not about disabled people. I said, there's people that are driving the scooters that aren't disabled. She goes, well, it should be more clear. And I said, maybe you should just take less offense.
Yeah.
That's true.
There is a beauty, I must say, from the 25 years ago of struggle to today where I get to say I don't care.
Oh.
You don't have to be PC with all your customers all the time. And it's really nice when you reach this point to this point. Not that it's enjoyable to tell people off, but most recently I had someone critique my photo of the Beyond Burger on my Facebook page.
Okay.
That I should class it up a bit, do some better photos of my product. And I said, well, thankfully I'm in the restaurant business, not the photography business.
But
Thank
if you ever
you
do
for your
need better
opinion.
photos,
Yes, there you go. And I
Self-promotion.
literally had 2 or 3 people comment on the photograph that it didn't look very presentable. And I said, yeah.
Is it still up there?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna take a little look-see.
Do a little
And I
criticism.
said, I didn't make it for the photograph. I made it to eat.
Yeah.
And I decided at the last minute I would take a photograph.
What's the context of this? You were just taking a picture of your own meal?
Yeah, well,
to
I
advertise
cooked a
it.
Beyond
Yeah.
Burger when they were brought in, so I cooked one. I wanted to try it. That's my job. I try all the product.
Of
That's
course.
good. That's a good thing to do.
I don't know. Lots of people take very terrible pictures of their food before they eat it and post it all
Well,
over
I
social media.
responded also that I felt that my photo was a little more true to real life as opposed to the glossy pictures of food that
Hey, I loved it.
let me see.
Yeah,
That one, right?
I'll give it. It's lackluster. It's just a picture of food. There's nothing fancy to it.
But I'm not offended by it.
No, no. But yeah, it's not like the McDonald's
you gotta read
menu
the comments
picture.
there?
It's not like the McDonald's menu picture where it's not even edible at the point of them taking
Joe
the picture.
Gonzalez. The Beyond Burger is a great burger. I am personally a big fan. I think this will complement your already great burger very well. Cheers responded, I've had veggie burgers before, and it was surprisingly beefy. So-and-so says, the burger itself is great, but this presentation is not attractive.
I can understand where they're coming from. People always focus on the negative side of things.
Comment?
I don't know.
Your response was very good.
Isn't that what social media is about? Just people airing their grievances about nothing, so they have nothing better to do.
Thanks. But it wasn't made for presentation, but for me to eat, and I decided to snap a pic. I agree with you, though, that it's a great burger. Cheers. That's the perfect response.
Very political, yeah.
We're
As,
wi-
as my youngest son says, I have the ability to tell somebody off without them really realizing that they're being told off. Thanks, but
It's a more common thing, I think, that any kind of business owner would have to do than just a general, employee or member of the public.
It's like 4 people saying that it's unattractive. That's a lot.
I know.
What?
You
Weird
wanna know
way
how-
to advertise, but great news. What?
And you read the comments underneath that one. That's the
Truth in advertising. A meat eater's review of a vegan burger. Glad to hear you think it's great news. Somebody responds, need better pics. Just saying. Cheers.
This isn't
cheers.
a Kijiji ad where you're trying to discern the quality of the thing you're going to buy. This is a picture of food that you can go buy.
Okay. It was a spontaneous pic. Still better than a glossy pic that the real item doesn't even resemble. It's true. There is a place to be had for like reality in food advertising. I know really used to love taking my time making, say, a teen burger at A&W when I had the chance, because food photography is such a fun thing to do if you're actually setting it up to make it look beautiful.
I just made myself a burger.
I'd eat it.
And
I'm not offended.
you know, some of what I understand, and you guys are younger, so you're more socially aware, but my understanding is I'm running the business and I'm trying to relate to people as if it's on a personal level, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not just saying, much like the outside sign, I would cringe before I would put up an outside sign that says, try our pasta, it's awesome. And then leave it up for a year.
There's no personality to a sign like that at all.
No. That's why when there was a mad cow disease, I said that we only use happy cows in our homemade hamburgers. Or you'd be mad too if you were about to become a hamburger. I don't think I could do that kind of stuff anymore.
Nowadays, no.
Oh, it'd be so good though. I think you got to ride the controversy a little bit. I'd love it. I know that.
There's a company in St. Catharines that we have dealt with, and they posted a picture today, and I haven't had time to sit down and read through the situation, but they posted a picture. They might have made a comment, but it was a meme about the Avengers movie. And people took such offense to this. They started bashing the company. They started writing negative reviews, and you can tell it's all just based on this, just based on the timeline of the post. And that scares me. Like, if you made a mad cow disease joke, I don't know.
I know. It's a different environment now.
But I think people are really sensitive.
I had a lady phone me up.
It.
I had a lady phone me up last week that wanted to know what on the menu was gluten-free.
Oy.
She goes, "I've got the menu in front of me. What's gluten-free?" I'm going, "I don't know." Salad? That's my response. Salad?
That's fair.
And she says, "Well, maybe she could have the fries, but are they cooked primarily in a fryer with nothing else?" I said, No, they're cooked with other things." "Oh, well, I can't have that then." I'm like, "Okay. What do you want me to say?"
What are you gonna do?
I don't care.
Well, exactly.
See, because I'm over here. I don't care. You know what? We sell fries with cheese and gravy and hamburgers and chicken wings and fish, and people like the food. And I'll give a nod to the vegetarian or the vegan, and I'll say, "You know what? I got your Beyond Burger. I got your, what else do I have? Fries, salad."
I'm sure there's plenty of things that are created.
Battered mushrooms, apparently. I've actually got a new menu, and we've got the letter V on some stuff now. So
Okay, so that definitely helps.
there's like a half dozen things.
A creative vegetarian can find stuff to eat anywhere, it seems.
But you would not go into a vegetarian restaurant and demand
To be served meat.
say, "What do you have for me?"
Yeah.
No.
Right?
It's true.
So the flip is,
It's
and it's a diet. It's a conscious decision.
yep.
Yeah.
It's not like celiac disease, which, you know, I feel sorry for the people that have that, and they, you know, I tried to go gluten-free for a month just to try it.
How'd that
It was
go?
impossible.
I've had gluten-free bread once, and it was just hard.
As a rock. I know
Yeah.
I made that
Broke my
stuff.
toaster.
It was made of almond flour and coconut and flour, and it was horrible. My kid made his girlfriend a sandwich out of it, and he handed it to her at lunch
They
in high
didn't
school.
date anymore. I forget who said it, but restaurants are interesting too because people expect to be catered to. But look at McDonald's. They catch a lot of flack for being unhealthy, but they never started as a healthy option.
No.
So they're getting flack now.
Right.
Probably a little bit more because of the way they advertise to children. But they took it. They try to be healthier now, but years ago they could have, if they wanted to, have just said, we weren't. Like, we were a burger place.
Yeah.
You want us to add a salad, maybe a nice little side salad, but we're always burgers and fries.
And I mean, the audience has changed a little bit. They have strayed away from advertising to kids and moved more into like the younger
Still have their Happy Meals,
teens
though.
and young adults. They do, but teens and young adults for like the cafe kind of
Well, yes.
atmosphere at this point.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be a restaurant's job to cater to everybody. It's your choice if you want to bring in a gluten-free item, but it can be a hassle.
But see, here's coming back to that phone call. My response was, "I don't know. You have the menu.
Yeah.
It's not my job to be a dietitian." But apparently, I need to be a dietitian and a professional photographer. And on top of payroll, marketing, scheduling, hiring, human resources, advertising, real estate, on and on and on, and cook in the meantime. Many hats, right?
Yeah.
But-
No, the dietitian side of things. If you're open and honest and the menu says, hey, this hamburger comes with a lettuce, tomato, mayo on a 100% pure beef patty,
Yeah.
I guess perhaps it's a fair question to ask if you have a gluten-free bun option. But other than that,
Well, you don't call Joe Blow's restaurant in,
and demand that
In
there be a
Burger
gluten-free
Town.
something. It's true.
like it's Welland.
It-
I'm a little independent in a small town. I'm not a chain.
There was a push a while back to get calories on every menu and certain things like that.
There still is, but you
But-
have to have, I think, a minimum number of stores or a minimum number of employees.
Okay.
So I don't qualify for that, thankfully.
But maybe there'll be a push in the future that you have to label things that
Maybe.
contains gluten, contains whatever, and it's kind of a never-ending list.
But that's
At that
such
point.
that's once again catering to the
Such a small minority.
Such a small minority. I mean, we're not even.
Absolutely.
To me, a minority would be 1 to 5%, and it's got to be less than 1% that suffer from celiac disease.
Yes, I think
And the rest is just it's a diet.
I think the trend has mostly been bucked at this point. Most people are done the fad of gluten-free.
Oh, before that was Atkins diet, and now it's what was that kale or whatever it's called.
The ketogenic diet.
Keto, yeah.
Yeah, which
Keto.
is primarily just meats and
Yeah.
staying away from carbs, so far as I'm aware.
Which I'm intrigued by, but I'm not a diet person. I'm not a healthy person.
I love
but
my
I'm also
veggies.
not a diet person.
I love my vegetables too much.
So I know it's something I need to work on, but I don't think just eating meat is my way to prime health. I gotta go on more hikes.
That's an interesting thing. Do you have hobbies still in your spare time when you're not at Cheers?
I've always made my home my hobby.
So renovations and
No.
family.
I just moved.
Okay.
I just moved 2 years ago. No, for the first the last 20 years, I lived on 12 acres out in Shirkston,
nice.
Wildwood Beach area.
Nice.
So my wife got herself a couple horses. I got a lawn tractor and a farm tractor, and we had bonfires and raised 2 boys in the country, doing all those country things with ATVs and dirt bikes and stuff like that. They've moved up and moved out, so we're officially empty nesters. So we've sold, and now we've got a house on the Welland River. Much smaller property,
Right.
but now we're doing everything different. Now we got a fishing boat and some kayaks and a nice boathouse to sit under, and
Sounds great.
yeah.
It does.
So I've always made I don't have the house and the cottage. It's more like wherever I live is the place that I want to go to when I'm not at work.
It's a good way to look at it.
Oh, thanks.
I think I'm exploring the gardening side of that, the landscaping side of
Yeah.
it currently, just because have a house in Niagara Falls needs a lot of work. But yeah, no, I can totally understand that.
Oh, the first house is always the practice house. Now I got a nice house and I'm afraid to do anything because I don't want to mess it up. But yeah, if you saw the drywall work I did, I thought I could do drywall. I did a little bit in my 20s,
You
and
see all the tape marks or something?
oh, it was horrible.
Oh,
I
no.
just want to panel it after I finish it.
Oh, it's okay. I just realized the other day that my garage has drywall in it, and they use duct tape for the taping.
Oh yeah.
It looks absolutely horrible.
I guess you can't really mud over that, eh?
No, it didn't work. It didn't stay.
Yeah.
It's all cracking off now.
If you want to entertain yourself sometime, you got to read my reviews to negative, my response to reviews to negative reviews. Like
Go on.
take TripAdvisor,
Okay.
dig a couple of those up if you like. Google. That's where I started out, like everybody else probably. I respond to the positive ones. Oh, thank you very much, and then try to
Yeah.
ignore the bad ones. And then once again, it's my youngest who says, "Oh, just flippantly, oh, you should respond to all of them. Respond to everybody."
Cool.
So I said, "Okay." Guy says that he's at Cheers and he's eating 2 triangles and a handful of fries that taste like Captain Highliner. and it's the halibut. So I can't put up with that. So you call them out, right? You say, well, obviously you're used to eating fillet of fish, so you don't know. You either think I've been fooling so many people for so long,
With frozen fish.
or you just don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Take your pick. So things like that. But
And it's a breath of fresh air when it comes to dealing with customers, because nowadays, even newer businesses, a lot of them really do fold to negative reviews. It's nice, as
Oh,
you
I
said,
know,
you're in the
those-
I don't care type phase, but
yeah, I don't know.
if it's a legitimate complaint, I can understand.
Yeah, when there's a legitimate complaint, I'll get a review from a woman that said she was in with her child and there was a lot of profanity at the bar. I take that seriously. I apologize. We put up a sign behind the bar: watch your language. When there's people dining behind you.
There is that sign.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen it.
yeah. But then, by the same token, if someone's completely wrong, like this woman says, I was told it was hand-cut fries, and they're not. They're frozen fries. And then I respond and say, oh, you're wrong. There's no way to sugarcoat that.
You could almost one up it. I don't really know what the form is you're responding in, but if you could like embed a video of just hand cutting
hand
fries,
cutting
it'd be so good.
Have you not seen the Joe Crawford
Yeah.
Niagara Dines?
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm making fries in that video.
I
Fair
think
enough.
he's talking about
just like a really short 3-second
okay.
video just to send somebody
Yeah.
when they give you that kind of thing.
No, that's true. I think we've had other restaurateurs on here, and they respond differently than you. They take a lot of time to try to figure out exactly what is a legitimate complaint versus what isn't, as far as to go back into the security footage to see
Oh yeah,
what has
no,
happened.
I've done all
Yeah.
that. I just don't take as much time. I mean, it's pretty quick, pretty fast that your food is being called frozen,
When it
battered
very clearly
fish.
isn't.
and I'm not going to take a whole lot of time in responding to that. I'm
Yeah.
going to clarify because I don't want it sitting there for
No,
people to
that's true.
read without having a response to it.
That's fair. It's not like you're going to correct the issue and somehow win this customer back either. It's more for other people to see.
Oh yeah,
There's a load of nonsense being spread on your page.
I spent a year trying to figure out a response to something I was told twice in 2 years. And the first time I didn't know what to say, and the second time, once again, I said, okay, I need a response to this, so if someone ever says it again. I had a customer call me up and said, the food was crap, I wouldn't feed it to my dog.
That's not
So I don't know.
constructive criticism at all.
So where do you go from there?
We have doggy bags.
So you guys are stand-up comics. What's your? I took a year to come up with an answer to that one.
Although we do
Well-
still have to try our open mic night.
Picking on the doggy bags thing would be kind of funny, like you just mentioned. No, you should definitely have like dog treats or something. That'd be funny. Like, well, we got dog treats behind the counter.
I don't know. That is a tough one.
Feed that to your dog.
I wouldn't feed that to my dog.
To be honest, I wouldn't either. I'd eat it.
My response, is that the nickname for your wife? I never got to use it, but I will.
That's
If I ever hear it again. Well, it's no harsher. Seriously.
That's true.
I mean,
It's not on their end.
me
a
and
constructive
Cheers are
complaint.
together. You insult my photograph,
You're insulting
it's
me.
personal.
Yeah.
You insult anything about what I do for a living to feed my family, I take it personal.
That's fair.
You call my food not fit to feed a dog, I take it personal. There's no way to not take it personal.
Yep.
I spend a lot of time preparing it. I spent the time to cook it, to package it, to price it appropriately. I'm going to take negative criticism. I'll take constructive criticism about profanity in the restaurant, or you should really have this, or you should really have that, or offer this or offer that. Something that makes you go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But for someone to come along and say, food's crap, frozen, it's garbage, wouldn't feed it to my dog, your photographs suck, you don't know what you're doing, you know, you can't but help but to take that personal.
That's true. Constructive criticism is important, but that saying the food is crap, I wouldn't feed it to my dog, that's your response saying, is that your nickname for your wife? That's
I'm
non-constructive response to a non-constructive criticism.
Yeah,
so.
I may have, you know, it may elevate the situation, but it would be the end of the conversation, that's for sure. But, you know, the day will come. I'm not retiring until I get to use that.
Good to know. I'll write a review tonight.
Yeah.
Perhaps somebody will, write that review now. Now that it's out there.
I don't know. Food, anything is really subjective. So when somebody says the food is crap, not constructive, because I've been to restaurants where I haven't enjoyed the meal, but it's a personal preference. I don't like X or Y, but it doesn't mean it's not good.
First time I tried gnocchi, I felt like that.
Okay.
I said, you know what? I said, I tried it. I didn't really like it.
It's not for you.
I've had, so I pay the bill.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those customers that says, oh, I tried your, pan-fried salmon. I didn't like it. And I'm like, oh, well, sorry. But now you know.
Now you know.
It's true. That's a good...
Someone else say, I tried this and I didn't like it. I said, well, it's not a sample menu. Like you ordered it. I don't eat it, don't eat it, take it home. I don't care.
It's a bit of an interesting thing, and I guess it doesn't really work so much with food since it's not really somebody's personal preference, and there's a specific way that you prepare it. But for photos, at least, in the few situations I've encountered where I've taken photos for somebody and they didn't seem to like them, the only thing that I really ever play is, well, what could I have ever done differently? Like, what do you want me to do? I'll make it right. And they've never had anything really to say back, like, oh, you could have done this different. No, nothing.
No.
Nothing at all. Which they somehow feel happy after that, and they're perfectly okay again.
One of the times he's referring to, we had a woman who wasn't happy with certain aspects of the photos, and we had thought that she was being slightly, or more than slightly, dramatic about the situation, but we didn't really push it. There were kind of personal issues on her part, which I guess psychologically would have made sense as to why she wouldn't have liked some of the photos. But
it makes more sense with the detail.
Yes,
they were out on the grass taking, wedding photos in a dress, and the green grass reflected onto the dress looked a little green. She was right to call it out, but was upset with us that we did not remove the green color from her dress.
But could you do it after the fact?
Oh yeah,
could.
And we did to a certain
degree. It was a weird one for me because I didn't expect it. It wasn't like it was as green as the soap on the sink. It was just a little green tint because the grass was reflecting onto a perfectly white dress, and it was a perfectly accurate depiction of that scene.
Right.
Didn't seem out of the ordinary to me, but if she wants a perfectly white dress, then that's what she'll get, I guess.
Yeah. Well, see, you got the same problem, right, with dealing with customers in a sense.
I got a nice ending to that though, because the groom had sent over an email with a form just to say that we had did what we did, and that was that. And he was like, I gotta tell you, I thought the photos were great, but bitches be bitches, or something like that. Like, well, I think I just won. Like, I don't think he's ever gonna show his wife that response, but
no.
It was nice.
Somewhat validation that you're not being unreasonable.
No. I don't know. Some people don't know how to give constructive criticism, and it becomes an issue.
Some people, if they're coming at you from up here, there's no effort or reason to try and bring them back down.
That's
if
true.
someone is so far angry and I'll never be back, and they're cursing, I mean, you got to draw the line. If they're cursing at you, you're saying, you know what, doesn't sound like there's anything I can do that's going to make you happy, so let's just part ways.
That's fair enough.
Some people are just looking for a fight or recognition or in certain cases, I know for a fact, like when I was at A&W, that there were people that just wanted it to get a free
Oh yeah.
something or other. And
I had one of the funny complaints was a woman called the waitress over, who then brought a couple things on her hand in the kitchen. She goes, "Woman had these on her plate and wants to know what they are." Little tiny hard pieces of French fry.
Huh. Maybe
And-
she had never seen French fry bits
And that's
before.
so I got to laugh, because that's actually edible, and it's
Yes.
little pieces of French fry. And so that's a complaint that was resolved really easily, because it's not like it's anything that's not edible that's on her plate.
Of course.
Needless to say, when the woman finished her food, all that was left was
The
little,
bits.
little tiny. Yeah, she left them all on the plate. But that was funny.
That's a very strange experience, because it's somebody that just hasn't been so accustomed to eating French fries.
Yeah,
that
frozen French fries that are uniform in size, shape, color, and
You
you
go
don't
to-
have the little bits, right?
even you go to McDonald's, you're really not going to encounter bits that have been stuck in the deep fryer or whatever it is.
Right.
For the most part, just because it's such a uniform product. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Shows how some people live their entire lives, I guess. Staying away from smaller restaurants.
Any chance to get another A&W?
yeah,
Do you want another one here?
No, I'll pass. I guess we discussed your hobby a little bit of just
Well,
your
hobby,
house.
I guess.
I
Yeah.
want to maybe. Is there something else? Maybe are you into cars? Are you into?
Well, I do have a classic car.
Perfect. That's what I want to hear.
Okay.
What do you have?
I have a 69 Cougar.
Okay.
I drove a motorcycle for years. But then I realized with wife and children that I'm waving goodbye to my wife and children, and the rest of my bros from our 20s, we're all gone, all moved away. So now it just became transportation, going back and forth to work, which isn't quite as much fun. Thank you. And so then I decided to get a classic car and get rid of the motorcycle, and that's been a lot of fun.
Doesn't feel like quite the same death trap, even though I'm sure it's not accustomed with like any safety features at all.
No, my youngest got in it for the first time, who's also claimed it when I die, which I think he's trying to speed that up a little sometimes. He taps on the metal dash, and he says, "I don't think that's gonna help." And this roller coaster seatbelt, and the fact that there's 5 ashtrays in the car. I said, "Well, the children back then all smoked in the back seat." So,
it's a different.
but he
era of
discovered
car.
AM radio, and he thought that was pretty cool.
Does it not have an FM?
Nope, strictly AM. My
Really?
wife's wanted me to upgrade it to something current. I said, "No, it came with AM. I'm keeping the AM."
You're not listening to much music on AM, but
No,
I mean, there's
but-
comedy and some other things
Well,
and
it's
news.
got the dual exhaust, so that's what you're listening to. So,
I guess that's fair.
yep.
That's interesting. I don't know if I'd be able to pick a classic car necessarily. I am big into cars, but at the same, I think it'd probably just be a classic truck.
Well, see, with me,
60s or 50s.
yeah,
era.
with the classic car, it came down to I wanted a convertible. My wife says I would like it to be automatic, so I can drive it too.
So
and
it's
I like the
automatic. Makes
60s
sense.
body styling. So yeah, so it's convertible, it's automatic, and
They probably sold a lot more of the automatic Cougar models back then, or was there even there would have been a
don't know.
manual option?
I don't know.
How many speeds is it? Like a 3-speed or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. It's kind of neat.
It's fun.
Very different automatic transmissions than the older cars.
But it's funny because you're the second person, I think, in 25 years to ask me what my hobbies were. And 25 years ago, I'm married to the business, working 80 hours a week.
There's not
And I
much time.
felt bad because I had no answer to that question. And now, you're bringing it up again going, so what are your hobbies? Like for the second time, I'm like, I don't know.
Well-
If I'm not at work, I'm mentally at work. My phone is on vibrate right now, but normally it's not. And I'm getting messages, I'm responding to reviews, I'm dealing with things.
That's the way to be.
You're
That's-
married to it.
I can empathize with that. I mean, I mentioned today I wasn't at work, but like, it bothers me deeply when I'm not at work on a day that I should be. It doesn't feel right at all. I don't know. Do you find that, Jesse? I mean, you work from home a little bit more in some of the jobs and roles that you've had, so I guess it's a bit more mixed together.
Yeah, I always, whenever I get a day where I'm not doing something, or if I take time off or too much time off, I start to feel not so good about the decision to take the time off. I don't like taking more than 1 or 2 days off without doing something constructive, or it's never a full day off.
No.
Just because there's always stuff that can be done, but also at the same time, some of the stuff I'm doing, I'm wondering if like reviews are wonderful to respond to. We don't have your restaurants, you deal with
A lot more customers.
a higher volume of customers than we do, but it's just creation or trying to find the clients that I find myself doing. So a lot of times it's just checking Facebook at random points in the day, because there are always brides looking for photographers or videographers, which takes time.
With me, I've connected my business to everywhere I can find. Like I'll be like yourself, I Google my restaurant, then I find that it's listed on Yelp. So I make sure I claim ownership of it on Yelp. I claim it on Google, claim it on Facebook, claim it on TripAdvisor, Rotten Tomatoes, or whatever other review apps are out there, just so that my phone will go off if anybody comments on me anywhere.
It's smart.
Because I want to be able to jump in and.
It makes a lot of sense for you. My dad always jokes that people are calling him about advertising his window cleaning company on Google or whatever. He's like, no, I don't want any more customers. Hangs up. He's got all his customers he needs for the rest of his life, and he's happy with it. But
see, I can't say that.
No, with a restaurant, of course, you can always fill
they'll
more.
They'll finish, and then I need somebody else.
Fill the seats, for sure. Does being so busy all the time and being attached to the business like you are make it seem very difficult to imagine a typical retirement?
Yes.
Okay. I like that.
I have no idea what I would do. I mean, I've looked. I don't think there's any job openings for retired restaurateurs. I really have no idea.
It's the problem where somebody works their whole life and then they have this dream of retirement, and then they retire, take up golf for about a year, and then decide, nope, going back in, because they can't deal with that life.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to. We're talking about being snowbirds. We've worked, our whole lives with the goal of being snowbirds, saying Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and then take off for 2 or 3 months somewhere south, like the Roatan or Cuba or something.
Cuba's a difficult one because you need to know somebody and get in there.
You
can't own land.
You could do long-term at all-inclusives. This place we go to in Santiago, Los Galianos, there's a lot of retirees that are down there for a couple months a year because it's $2,000 each, and they said you get health care included.
That's pretty good. Cuba is an amazing exception as far as the vacation scene goes, because you get a lot of bang for your buck down there.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I would certainly go back, and I think I'd certainly go for more like 4 or 5 stars next time, because again, it's relatively affordable compared to elsewhere.
Yeah. We've done 2-star in Cuba when we had no money.
We did. I think we did 2-star last time.
Yeah,
it was okay.
Where'd you
go? It was
Club Amigo in
Guadalajara.
No.
Playa
Trinidad.
Okay. Well, it was near Trinidad. Yeah, near Trinidad.
Yeah.
Basically.
It was good.
But I've been to the Club Amigo.
Food gets real old real quick, but other than that, it was a good experience.
I learned something from the people that spend 2 months there in terms of food, because I'd say the same thing. It's repetitive. They said, well, yeah, it's repetitive because you're filling your plate with fish, chicken, pork, rice, salad, every meal.
Yeah.
They said, don't do that. Every meal, go and take whatever it is that they're cooking. Like maybe one, instead of what's in the hot plates, take the fish if they're cooking fish and make your meal around that. Don't have all the proteins every meal, and then you won't get sick of it.
That's true.
It's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably guilty of that. I just grabbed like all of the best looking things every meal, every time.
I know. And no wonder you're sick of it, right?
That makes perfect sense.
Instead of breaking it down. So, what you would do at home, right? You'd have a fish dinner, a chicken dinner.
Yeah, you orient it around a single staple and make a meal out of it. Yeah. Something about the spices they use too, perhaps, might also be a factor, or that hot dog is in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't help.
I've seen them deep frying hot dogs and deep frying hamburgers. I'm like, that's disgusting.
Yeah,
It's not good for you if it's nothing else.
The Club Amigo, the first time I went, they tried their best. They had a poutine bar, so they knew they were catering to Canadians, obviously. And they tried their best to make a Cuban-style poutine, and the gravy was not amazing, and the cheese was just shredded cheese. But they tried hard, and it was still tasty.
Yeah.
But
it's the most natural food you'll ever eat down there. I mean, I remember the ketchup bottle, I'd squeeze it out, and it's basically pressed tomatoes.
yeah,
There's no sugar, preservatives, and it's just tomatoes.
yeah.
Sounds a bit more watery, but
Yeah.
I think it could be good, I guess.
Well,
Try making my own ketchup at some point.
Yeah, but you think about it, it's a lot healthier. Everything they're eating is just a lot healthier.
Yeah. I don't know what the average age that a Cuban lives to, but I know their healthcare is pretty good.
Yeah, their healthcare. I think their healthcare workers are their number one export. I think. So they export their healthcare workers to Venezuela or wherever.
I know that they're much friendlier to some more experimental techniques in treating, very serious conditions or diseases, which is always interesting.
That I don't know, but yes.
And the cars. A great place
Oh,
if you want to go look at cars.
Yeah.
Even around Trinidad, when we went to the city the one day, I have so many pictures of beautiful, beautiful cars. It's just this interesting side of ingenuity where these people are just making these things run for significantly longer than they were ever intended to keep running.
We spent a lot of time off the resort. We've made a lot of friends in different cities in Cuba. And one place we were at, I'd left my bottle of water because I left the resort with it, so I wouldn't drink their tap water while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I left my bottle of water. We happened to walk by the next day, and I looked over, and they had cut the bottle, and they were using half of it as a shade to keep the rain off their outside light bulb.
Oh, there you go.
Different.
And I thought, geez, that's ingenuity.
Yeah.
Another resort we were at, my hairdryer broke, so I've taken it to the kitchen because I couldn't find anybody, and I said, it's broken. You got another one? She sat down with the knives, cooking knives, and unscrewed it, and she says, "Come back later." Came back half an hour later. She had it back working again. I said, "You know what? We're sad."
Yeah.
My first reaction was throw it out, give me a new one.
Yeah.
And her reaction
Throw
was
away.
to fix it.
Yeah, throwaway culture versus, keep what you have
Exactly.
and you keep it running, make it work.
That's true. That's
Funny though.
interesting.
They'd have a hell of a time trying to make modern cars work for as long as the older ones they have. But
Yeah, because it's all computers. So.
yeah, but the old carbureted engines and simplistic suspension designs and all that can be worked on for a long, long time.
Yep.
Makes me almost jealous that I didn't learn to do automotive mechanics in a different time period. Because these days, I don't want to plug in a computer and just run diagnostics and do all the stuff that the technicians do.
I don't know a lot about the old engines. I mean, I just did all the basic maintenance back in the day. I mean, I stopped changing oil 15 years ago when you couldn't even reach the filters anymore. I mean, my wife had a PT Cruiser, and you couldn't see the filter from top or bottom. I'm looking at it going, you need to buy a special tool just to reach
Just to
in
change
there.
the oil.
Yeah, and I thought, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. But I mean, back in the day, I mean, that's all I did was say plugs and wires and
Yeah.
fluids.
Something you do out of both necessity, because you might not be able to afford otherwise, or just
It's
curiosity.
Pride of working on your own stuff.
Yeah, I like just taking things apart,
Yeah.
and usually I can get them back together just fine. But
Yeah.
it's fun.
I do that with electronics.
Yeah, I love doing that with electronics. We have a little drone, because we do a little bit of aerial photography and videography, and I broke it once. And it's our drone. We both paid for it. So I had to fix it on a schedule before he had to use it next, and I wasn't going to tell him about it until I had it fixed. That was the most nitpicky electronic thing I've ever tried to fix. So small and tiny. Usually it's just like soldering in new capacitors to things and all that stuff, or fixing just electrical cord, which is like the easiest thing. But
Yeah.
again, rewarding. You keep something going that...
Well, I installed all the
It's just
security
fine.
cameras at Cheers.
There you
That's
go.
3 o'clock in the morning. I'm crawling through the attic running wire, and it's just speaker wire. Right?
Yeah.
It's just an audio, video, and
Probably hammer drilling into some concrete wall somewhere or something
yeah.
to get them mounted, yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be closed when you do stuff like that, so
Yes.
you can't get a food order when you're covered in insulation crawling through the attic.
No, you can't.
This is
Not at all.
Bit of a weird question, but there's a lot of really good consumer security systems these days. Is it like a regular?
Yeah, I bought it off Costco.
Okay. Yeah.
QC.
Okay. The days of industrial security systems seem to be going away now that you can just get such a cheap and easy to use security system. You could probably see it on your phone, can't
Yeah,
you?
you got the mobile app.
Everybody's doing it. I feel like I'm left behind. I think I should get one, if for no reason other than just to say that, hey, look, I have access to a camera on
Do
my
you know
phone.
how much fun it is to be in Cuba?
And look back at your where you work.
There's the bar at the moment.
There you go. That's incredible.
But yeah, to be sitting there in Cuba and then text saying, "Hey,
Do this.
Look at the camera.
yeah, I know." Well, I do that with when I first installed the cameras. I was doing that as a joke because there's a time delay. So I would have a waitress out in the dining room. I say, "Hey, want to see something funny?" And then you wait a couple seconds, and then they wave on the phone. It's, things like that. That's simple minds are.
So do you find that now that you have the security cameras set up, are you constantly checking them when you're not there, or?
People think I watch the Cheers channel.
Okay.
And they'll, especially when they were new, people would come in and they would say, "Oh, did you see that I waved?" I said, that would imply that I'm spending all of my time watching all 8 cameras simultaneously. I said, no. I originally installed them when I went from working straight nights to not working every night. And I
Okay.
wanted the security for the waitresses. That's why I don't have security cameras in the kitchen. I'm not concerned about the kitchen or the
That's
bathrooms,
fair.
obviously.
Proper thinking.
But yeah, you just it's there if needed. It's like an alarm system where if it's needed, it's there. I can go back. I've seen vandalism on the picnic tables, and I was able to go back and see which regular customer was doing that.
Yeah, I guess if it's a regular, you can call them out on it for sure.
Yeah, we had a regular steal money off the bar.
Well,
Caught him.
A little bit more than calling them out at that point, I think.
Yeah, you're out. So, things like that. But yeah, the cameras are handy for that. But no, it's not it's a novelty.
The home builders love them because they'll see people come in and either dump garbage into the bins that are on site, or somebody will come. Usually, it's employees of contractors that are taking materials that are paid for by, in this case, Mountain View Homes, and Mountain View Homes gets to come up to a boss and say, "Hey, look, this is your employee walking off the site with a bunch of 2x10 the other day." And then the employer says, "Okay." They show the employee like, "Hey, look, we got you on camera." And then they might not admit to it or whatever right away, but usually end up getting fired or.
I've had
whatever
3
it
or
may
4
be.
cameras, outside cameras, stolen over the years.
They stole your cameras. You probably put them in much harder to get positions, I'd imagine.
Well, no, I just stopped after a while. I just left one mounted on the patio instead of 2 because they could reach it, and all you see is a hand, and then it's
Gone.
gone. I mean,
Yeah, I guess you'd have to put it on a pole or somewhere higher up.
I guess.
What a thing to try to steal a camera. You can't do anything with that.
I wouldn't think
It's just pure vandalism at that point. You can't sell it. You can't.
No. You can scrap it. Welland's good for that.
Well, I thought East Main Exchange would probably be selling security cameras at that point.
Welland, as far as cities go, is the fastest city. If you have something you don't want in your house anymore, you put it to the curb, it is gone. 10 minutes, like less than 10 minutes sometimes. It is incredible how fast people move.
And you remember when you used to have to pay $20 to get, if you wanted to put an appliance out at the side of the road?
I don't remember that. I'm too young.
You used to have to pay $20, and it would be like it'd be like a Freon certificate because you're putting out a fridge or something with Freon.
Yeah,
in
the
it.
old fridges were bad for that.
But now you don't even have to buy the $20. They still sell them probably, but you put it out the side of the road, and someone will scrap it for
Scrapples
you.
will take it.
Yeah.
I have the unique perspective of working in a metals and electronics recycling depot twice, 2 different ones, and I would see everything that people would bring in as scrappers for the most part. They're not worth a ton. I mean, white goods, so like freezers, fridges, microwave stoves, things like that, are typically When I was working there, it was the price of steel, which was 5 cents a pound. So they're not killing it bringing these things in, but it's a bit of money.
Yeah.
And I mean, stuff like, some of them will go to the lengths of disassembling the fridge, taking out the compressor, which is worth more, and putting that individually, and they get tricky.
Stripping the copper out of this and that.
Some people that are very desperate will start stripping copper wire, just taking the housing off, which, yeah, okay, I guess it's more valuable slightly, but how valuable is your time?
I know.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
People trying to... Ooh, people are shifty, too. Like, they'll bring in, a bunch of brass, I don't know, fixtures for lighting or something, put them on top of some steel, and then, try to pass it all off as brass. But, of course, the employees are trained to search through stuff, so...
Well, speaking of shifty, it just reminded me of a customer that always comes back to the customers. Would bring in their own tea bag and ask for a pot of hot water and could I get some cream and sugar? Now, what do you do in those circumstances? Do you charge them for a tea or not?
It's tricky. If it's a one-off thing, like I'm there all the time, I think I'd probably just do it to be done with it. But then again, they're sitting there, they're taking up space. Depends how busy the restaurant is at that time. Like if they're taking up space and there could be people coming and paying, probably not. It's tricky. If they bought something else, then sure, whatever, I guess. Maybe they really have a preference about the tea they drink. I have no idea. It's a moral dilemma.
Yep.
It has to do with a lot of factors.
In general, I mean, the way it was at A&W and other restaurants is there's no outside food or drink. Tea is weird in between, but...
We charged.
And how did they take it?
They paid.
Good.
They clearly wanted their sugar and cream.
But see, the argument that I gave the waitress, who was like, "Oh, really? You want me to charge?" I said,
We're doing
"Yes,
the
I
same
do."
work.
I said, "Here's the thing. The tea bag is pennies.
Yes.
Of the whole tea that they're having, the only thing they're not having is the couple of pennies worth of tea bag. They're still getting the hot water, the cream, the sugar. They're getting it served. They're going to get it cleaned up. They're going to get the dishes washed. They're getting everything but the 2-cent tea bag." So I said, if they have a complaint, they can take one of my tea bags with them.
Fair enough.
That's because I'm over here.
I think any reasonable person presented with that factual list of information would pay.
Oh yeah,
There's no defense.
People are people, right? So we're not a grocery store, and yet sometimes people think we are. They'll come in and they'll say, "Oh, it's $5 for a piece of pie. I could buy a whole pie for $8." And I said, "Well, it's not $5 for a pie." I said, "It's only $1." I said, "Really?" It says $5 on the menu. I said, "No, it's only $1." I said, "The other $4 is for the waitress that's going to bring it to you. It's for the refrigeration, the electricity, the dishwasher, the heat, the hydro, the property tax. But the pie is $1."
Every consumer in the world just doesn't ever get the full picture of what they're buying into unless they have the inside knowledge for the most part, or at least the understanding of what they don't know.
Grooms of brides that we work with are like, "Hey, we're paying you $3,600 for 12 hours of your time, and then
12 hours of 4 of our time.
Yes.
Plus.
But then, and nowadays, whenever somebody counters that, I'll bust out a blank piece of paper and do the math and say, like, this is what our kind of day rate is, this is what we do, this goes to the fact that we're insured, gas, stuff like that, and just break it down and say, that's where it goes.
Yeah. And the 12 hours on the day is actually, in this case, 48 man hours, and when we go home, there's going to be 1.5 times that approximately in editing time, so you're now getting closer to over 100 hours worth of work, and there's actually cost to some of the materials used, and every business is like that. There's always so many hidden little costs that nobody appreciates. They just go to the grocery store and they see the people competing for the lowest price on pie, and they say, well, that's how much pie costs.
Well, right. Well, then go buy the pie.
Exactly.
Take it home. Eat it in your own house. Clean your own dishes. But if you want to go out and have someone bring it to you, and maybe a glass of water to go with it, or a hot water for your tea bag, you pay for service, right?
Yep.
But and people think the menu prices are negotiable.
No.
Or they try to make up their own product. Could I get instead of the barbecue chicken for the wrap, could I get chicken fingers? And instead of the lettuce and tomato, could I get cheese? Oh, instead of fries with chicken fingers, could I get an extra chicken finger? That's one of my favorite ones. No.
I guess in some people's mind that's a logical argument, but
Well, when you consider the
Cost of
price
chicken.
of a potato
yeah, it's nothing.
versus the price of a piece of chicken,
Mhm.
potato is not worth much. So, how much without the fries? There's another good one.
That's a good question.
Same price.
Same price.
You do what you want with the fries. I don't care.
A lot of the things that you'd be doing in the kitchen would be simultaneous, so they don't take extra man hours to do necessarily. It's just the cost of the.
Well, see, if you're ordering chicken fingers and fries, which chicken fingers comes with fries as an example, and it's $10.99, and you say how much without the fries are only there to fill the plate in the first place, to make it look like you're getting a full plate of food. So the price is based on the chicken fingers. The fries and the plum sauce
And of
is the
course-
throwaway.
And I'd imagine fries have an individualized price if you just wanted fries. Right.
Yeah, but that's where I say they look at the price of the fries on the menu and think that they can get that deducted, but that's not the way the chicken fingers are priced.
No.
And I actually had to become that restaurant a couple of years ago, where I put on the sharing price, and I really didn't want to be that restaurant.
Sharing price.
Yeah, the sharing charge. Yeah.
It's just for people that are trying to split a meal with somebody else.
Yeah, because the reason it's because is because I came up with a 2-piece fish dinner. The price of that was based on one person eating it, not 2 people eating it, because it's not double the price of a single order.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're doing is, as an example, let's say it's $17 for a 2-piece and $10 for a single, and they're splitting it. They're actually paying $8.50 a plate, but I want $10 a plate for an individual. You know what I mean? Are you following that?
I am following it. I'm debating the ethics of it in my head as you talk.
Okay. Well, the ethics that I struggled with, I got over it real fast when a table of 8 came in, and 4 of them ordered a 2-piece dinner and 4 asked for an extra plate. And I priced that on the menu as if it was for one person.
Yeah.
So that's where I said, you know what? It'd be no different than going out for a steak dinner. Say, go to the Keg, go to the Mandarin, go to Red Lobster, ask for a meal and an extra plate, and I bet you're gonna pay for that plate.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, the other thing would be
You
if
don't
you
think?
get a table of 8 that come in versus a table of 4. A regular table of 4 will sit down at a table that seats 4, and they'll eat. If a table, like, there's also the butts in the seat. If you're making half as much money but filling double the seats, that's a math issue right there.
It's tricky for me.
I see that. I see.
'Cause
I see
it
the
is
struggle. I had that struggle.
If you come up with an ethical principle, it should be something you abide by, no matter what the context. Essentially, if it's some like statement that you can just strike into, well, should you charge for sharing or should you not? It should be a
Well, there's a
cut
gray
and dry situation.
area if it's say a gentleman my age sharing with his
A
elderly mother or a
Child.
very, very small child that's not even. Oh, it reminds me, I forgot to print out kids menus today. Damn. Yeah, I mean, if someone's having a bite of fish, it's really no different than the all-you-can-eat. We did all-you-can-eat fish for a long time. And the ones that you watch are the ones that I'll have an all-you-can-eat. I'll just have a salad.
yeah.
And then
'Cause
now we got to
they're sharing.
watch them. And
That makes more sense to have a share price for sure because you
no,
are.
we didn't do a share
exploiting
price.
that.
We charged 2 all-you-can-eats.
That's fair. That makes total sense to me right off
But
the
that's
bat.
that's what the Mandarin would do anyways.
Yeah.
Even if you were taking up an extra seat, you were like, well, I'll just have a whatever. They'd still charge you. They're basically a charge on a per butt of the seat. That's why when I take them out for Christmas dinner and we have 5 people,
and somebody was supposed to come, so it was originally booked as 6, and I was charged for 5, but then they called me saying you didn't pay for one of your people. I'm like, and I had to pull out the receipt, and I said I paid for all 5. They're like, yeah, but it was registered for 6. I'm like, and there was an empty seat.
Yeah.
They did give me that hassle. So they pretty much do charges based on the seat, whether you're...
Yes.
But I see your ethical dilemma. So you got to back it up.
So here,
To back it up to the point where I started from, which is in the menu design. So I'm getting some demand for bigger portions. So I've got my single fish and chips.
yes.
So I'm saying, okay, let's do a double. But you can't charge double.
No.
Because it's a draw. It's an incentive for, but it was designed for one person.
So okay, I understand with the more extreme example of having the 8 people that split,
Right.
just with the 4 meals. The most of what I'm thinking, the difference in price should, and maybe the numbers don't work, so I'm not going to run them right now, but the difference in price, the amount that they save by getting a 2-piece versus like the quantity of food versus the 1-piece fish and chips, should in theory be made up by the time saved in preparing it. So, for instance, making 2 pieces of fish doesn't take longer than making 1 piece of
Takes
fish.
the same amount of time.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't know how much preparation there
No,
is.
it takes
into
the same
cutting
amount of
it.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not paying man hours. Let's just say
No.
you're not doing it.
No.
Say an employee
No,
is doing it.
but the difference is that I'm getting $8.50 a plate instead of $10 a plate.
It's true.
So I
Double the
charge
seats.
enough as a sharing charge that it equals the same as if they each got their own plate of fish and chips. But what I do with that, and when they say, and it's on the menu, so it's not hidden. It says this item,
Transparency is great.
this item has a $3 sharing charge if splitting it. That's for the fish and shrimp, the 2-piece halibut, and 2-piece haddock, and that's it. You want liver and onions, you can share it. You want chicken fingers, you can share it. But the 2-piece dinners, or the fish and shrimp dinners, were intended to be for one person. But if you want to feed 2 people with it, instead of me splitting that cost in half, and this is where the accounting comes in, I don't want to sell $8.50
Yeah.
fish and chips. I need to get $10 for an order.
It's tricky. I'd have to look at a lot of like numbers for that kind of thing because you have to factor in how much is markup, how much is the cost.
Oh,
of
I've
the
done
product.
that though.
Yeah, I imagine you would have to come to that
So
decision.
here, if you and your better half come in, and you want a 2-piece and an extra plate, and the first thing that I'm going to do when you say, okay, we're going to split the 2-piece, the waitress will say, okay, just so you know, there's a $3 sharing charge for the extra plate. That's okay. So now in the kitchen, here's what we're doing. We're making 1 plate, and we're splitting the fries in half. And you're each getting a piece of fish, you're each getting a coleslaw, lemon tartar, and you're each getting homemade bread. You're getting 2 full meals. The only difference is you're each getting half fries. See what I'm saying? Because really, when someone wants a 2-piece, but they want to split it, primarily it's because they don't want all the fries.
they get more fish in that situation to the fry ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I see your struggle.
There's the other side of it, and it doesn't factor into anything that maybe you've done to counter it, is that what has changed in the situation where one person comes in and orders a 2-piece fish and chips and they eat it themselves versus they bring a person with them that wasn't going to order something themselves anyways, and they buy it for this person and they split it with this person. The only thing that's changed is you have one more seat that's filled, which of course
There's
has
value in that
some
seat.
cost associated with it, I'm sure. But at the same time, that's the only thing in that situation that has
So
changed.
you're saying a spontaneous decision to share the plate? I wasn't going to share my meal, but
It's not even
Expecting
spontaneous.
Such a
It's
heated
a
conversation. Of
it's a scientific elimination in factors. The only thing in that situation that has changed is that there is one more person sitting at a table, which again probably has some cost associated with it. But I don't.
There's let's go back to your $3,600 for 12 hours labor.
Yeah.
There is a level that you want to receive for your service. So there's a level that I want to receive for my product. You're discounting my product by diversifying it. There's a certain ethnic group, which I won't name, But they'll come in and they will order X amount of wings, X amount of fish, and it's just all shared plates.
Okay.
Now, we give that a lot more leeway. But what I'm referring to is the couple or the table of four that are taking individual meals and splitting them is basically it's lowering the value of your product.
Yeah. At least if you want to talk about something that's qualitative, like the perception of the value of your product, yeah, you could definitely win an argument based on that.
Well, the nice thing
Makes
is
sense.
it says it on the menu. So you, the customer, have the
That
decision
is
to make.
very-
Do you want your own fish and chips, or do you want to share a two-piece
Yeah.
with the extra charge? It's your choice, right?
That's- of course,
Your
that's
choice
fair.
is, do you want the pie or not?
I
mean,
don't
it's-
think
it's-
anybody should necessarily argue with it if it's spelled out
Well,
plain
they
English.
they still will.
Yeah, they still will, of course.
Yes. But they'll pretend they didn't know when they got the bill. You know, what's on the menu. How come I can't take cheap chicken wings home on Thursday night? Because that's another rule that we have, and every restaurant's got that.
Here's an interesting question. Somebody that brings their own container and tries to do so anyway. What do you do there?
I've had people wrap up chicken wings in a napkin and put it in their purse
Yep.
because they're determined that they're not going to pay extra charge.
Yep.
The reason for that extra charge, which is self-evident, is the person that's ordering 3 pounds of wing and eating 1 pound and taking 2 home so they
Isn't
can make
staying for drinks.
they
Isn't.
can make more of a meal out of it.
It's true.
But then I've got the argument that someone says, well, I've already had a couple. I'm just going to take my wings home instead of eating them here. Your plan for having cheap wings was to get me in for beer. Well, I'm here for beer. I'm just going to eat my wings at home. See the fun you get to deal with?
It's a
Yes, it is.
the qualitative arguments or the emotional arguments are the harder ones to deal with. They're not strictly just numbers.
It's not black and white.
Yeah.
But then I try to turn it into black and white because the downfall of allowing the leeway is that the gap for the leeway gets wider and wider as
Yep,
time
people
goes
push
by.
their
So you
luck.
might as well just let everybody have whatever they want all the time.
I am at this point in time a landlord, and I feel like I'm getting pushed sometimes.
I've been a landlord and I would never do it again.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know where to draw the line. I still haven't figured that out about some things. What demands are reasonable, which ones are not. Almost all of them are in some kind of gray area.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing to learn. You feel like you're being taken for a sucker if you just give them what they want all the time.
It's like customers.
Yeah, and more than that, you're not making money half the time because
No.
things cost money when you're a landlord.
Yes.
You know, the washer or dryer breaks,
Yeah.
you're buying a new one. Or
No, I did that in my mid-20s. I was a landlord for a while and did that for a few years. And even now, to this day, I still get tempted every once in a while to get back into it. But then I realized, no, you know what? I got out of it because I wanted to spend my money on my house, not the rental house.
Yeah,
I want the new carpet or the new flooring or, you know, the new washer and dryer.
I can empathize with that.
Yeah.
But my tenants have air conditioning that I'm paying the electrical bill for, but I don't have air conditioning. Little things like that.
Yeah. But, you know, you're making money eventually.
Eventually. I don't think I'm going to make any money pretty much until I sell the house. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah, well, if you're...
until then, somebody's paying the mortgage.
If you're making the rent that's helping pay the mortgage, and you are smart and you're keeping money aside in a separate account for washers and dryers and air conditioners, and
I've become a bit of a scavenger. I am also one of the people who will pick up appliances off the side of
Oh,
the
yeah.
road.
Yeah.
I have a washer, a dryer, and a stove all extra, all
Yeah.
lined up, ready to go.
what I found was every tenant that left, it seemed like the new tenant that moved in was worse. My tenants
Ooh,
just
that
kind of
doesn't sound
went
good.
down.
I'm not looking for that.
Mine went down, and it seemed like and people trash the place. So, I mean, I'm in there after every tenant, painting, replacing carpet again.
See, I don't mind
They
that
left
stuff
all
as
your
much.
junk there. They cut
Yeah,
the,
the
they
junk.
cut the cords on stuff, and they just left it.
I don't like that. No,
Yeah.
I don't like the junk.
Yeah.
Leaving all the junk there. I think Welland is unforgiving in that you will see streets just littered with like someone had to move out or somebody died or whatever, and like just at the curb, an entire person's possessions.
Yeah,
I don't know what happens to it, but
scavengers.
yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
It's getting a little bit late. I think this is probably a
Yes.
good point to
About
wrap
talked
up.
out? This is early for me.
Hey, yeah, but for what you said, you thought you couldn't go as long as Joe Gonzalez or Joe Crawford, but you're...
We've made it an hour and 40 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good.
Good.
That's...
I'm not a late night person, so we'll say this is my fault. But
Oh, no problem.
anyways, it's been great having
Yeah,
you here.
Thanks.
This was
It was-
fun.
It was a good talk.
Good. It was enjoyable. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. But have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same
And-
time, same place.
And if you are one of the few people that watch our podcast that hasn't been to Cheers, you should go. Great fish and chips. I can agree with Welland Memes.
And don't forget to follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple Music, everything. We're
All
on
the places.
everything now. Facebook, YouTube,
Have a good night, everybody.
everything.